Hello everyone, and welcome back to In the News. And I do have some pretty big news to share today, all about the new version of code that's being released, VeloCloud 4.0. Now don't worry if you have not heard about it. The rollout just started. It might take a few good weeks before it is complete across all the hosted infrastructure. And the main reason being is it does require a Linux change as well. So it's a pretty significant upgrade process that is currently done by our operations team. Starting with the fact that now we can connect directly from the edge to any sort of third party using IPsec. So if you remember, the traditional way of doing this was to go via a gateway. And before, the only other option would be via this cloud security service, which was perfect for a destination like Zscaler or Symantec, like again a cloud security product, but not so great if you're connecting to, let's say, a legacy data center. It's my pleasure to tell you that now you can do that directly via the edge. So this is a full-fledged either IPv1 or IPv2 IPsec connection. So give it a name. And then you'll be able to configure the third party. You have the option for HA. So if you have two routers on the other side that you're trying to connect to, and what subnets are you expecting from them. One last thing that you have to do is now you have to go inside the profile, and you will see that under device and cloud VPN, things look slightly different. So you have the destination via gateway, which is the original way of doing things, and destination via edge. As we are inside the profile, I can show you that there have been a few changes inside the firewall tab itself. So if you turn on the stateful firewall, you'll see that now we have network and flood protection settings in case there are loads of connections being formed all of a sudden, or in case you want to protect yourself from well-known attacks. You can select the things here. And least obvious, if you now want to use FQDNs rather than IP addresses, you can do that. So you select a new rule here, and the destination will be an object group that you have to define here. So inside objects groups, you can create a new one, and you now have the option to select domains as well. Another thing to note with regards to network services and the VNFs is that now we do support high availability and VNFs. So this is previously something that was not working, right? So if you want HA, you cannot run the VNF in HA as well. Now the standby VNF will sync with the active one and will communicate with the VNF manager through the active edge. Day one, support is limited to just checkpoint VNFs, but the product team is looking to enhance that with VNFs from Palo Alto and Fortinet. And on the subject of security, we can now use Zscaler APIs to automate the whole connectivity. This is done under the cloud security service, so where you connect the edge directly to Zscaler. You just click next, Zscaler, and you check the box when it comes to automated cloud service deployment. You'll need your Zscaler cloud URL, your username and password, and also an API key that you'll be able to generate from the Zscaler side. Once this happens, we automatically configure the VPN credentials for the tunnel, the PSK FQDN, on both the VeloCloud and the Zscaler side, and save you the trouble to find out what's the nearest IP address, etc. Jumping back into the edges themselves, we now have a new way to provide backup LTE connectivity. So what tends to happen if you want to use any sort of LTE is that for now, before 4.0, you had two choices. You can just leave the interface in inactive, and that does consume quite a lot of bandwidth because we create overlay tunnels, we then run a lot of tests and a lot of management traffic, and a lot of customers might not be happy to pay money for that much overhead. So looking about a couple of gigabytes a month. You can obviously put the one overlay from active to backup, but this means that in case the backup has to kick in, it will take some time for all the services to get reestablished. And also you might run into issues because the overlays might not be able to form at all for any given reason. And that's one of the primary reasons why people like running active, because they know that all the VPN tunnels are up and running. So in order for us to compensate that, we have a new mode that's called hot standby that will allow you to strike a bargaining between saving money by having less amount of data. So we're looking about 300 megs a month versus 4 gig, which is a great improvement, but still keep the tunnels up. So there will be tests being run. You can make sure that the tunnels are up and running and ready to take the load. And in case of failure, you see sub-second reconvergence. Another options that you will be able to see, especially important if you're a partner and you would like to delegate firmware upgrades to your own customers, you'll now be able to select those customers and click this new option. So if you enable age management for the end customer, an enterprise super user will be able to upgrade the firmware. And this gives that extra bit of flexibility, especially important for resellers who might not want to go over the managed services route and they just want to empower their own end customers to take care of the management of the VeloCloud estate. Another function that might not be obvious, and unfortunately I cannot show you here because it needs to be enabled by an operator, is the role customization. So now if you have a certain role inside the VCO, whatever that's a partner role or an enterprise role, you'll be able to trim down privileges. Again, trim down and not add. We're not talking about creating new roles altogether, that it is to come in the next version of code. We just mean that for the existing roles, if you're a partner, you can then trim down privileges for both partner accounts and enterprise accounts. And if you're an enterprise customer, you can again do so, but just for the enterprise accounts. Just a quick note that you will need to be a super user in order to make this happen. Now, the last important piece is about the brand new visibility UI. So you'll see here that I have an option that is asking me to open the new orchestrator UI. And this is where you'll see a brand new look and feel of the VeloCloud dashboard as we're transitioning towards a more VMware-centric type of view. For those of you who are already familiar with VMware products, I'm sure it will be a very easy learning curve. But most importantly, this new UI allows us to display new visibility information. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you now go inside any edge and you select it, maybe go past the week to see a bit of traffic, you'll see lots more information under the paths. Common complaint was that when you look at the quality of experience, etc., we only used to show you the best path as plotted against voice, video, and transactional traffic. We now can actually compare this with any other endpoint. So I'm on this particular edge here. These are all my available peers. And now just by clicking on it, I have detailed information about what's going on the overlay, any issues with my quality of service, and then the quality score that's not generic, it's actually broken down for this particular connectivity. Other improvements are related to the way that we do reporting. We used to have some restrictions when it comes to how long back in time you can go, 2 weeks. and how many edges you could report on. All those are gone with the new UI. And now we just build a new report, customize it. You can even schedule it. Select the data you're interested in, filter down the edges. If you want to include them all, great. If not, you can include specific ones. And then you just submit the report into the format of your choosing. In the new UI, you will not be able to see any configuration options. They will be coming with the next version of code. So for the time being, for the next few months, if you need the new path visibility and the new reporting, you will need to use the new UI. And for the rest of the configuration options, you will need to go back to the old one. These are the main benefits of Code 4.0. There are many other things behind the curtains that have been changed to make the platform more reliable and more secure. Obviously, if you want a demo and a POC, please get in touch with us. And if you're an existing customer, do have a look for the banners inside the VCO telling you if it will be or it was already upgraded to 4.0. And then you'll be able to upgrade your Edge firmware and benefit from all the new features.